it goes back to even the hip hop culture itself. You know, we created something out of nothing, and it turned into a global phenomenon. And I mean, that's what happens when you approach something organically. There's no set goal. There wasn't a thing, I can make money doing this. It was none of that. It was just, we were just passionate about the music. And at the end of the day, it comes out in stories like this. And, you know, and hip hop in general. I mean, we created this out of nothing. So this is just one chapter of the whole book and the hip hop culture, you know?
How are you both doing?
Good, thank you. Excited.
We absolutely love the docs, so we're just so happy to be talking about it with both of you today.
Oh, thank you, man. Thanks for the opportunity.
It means a lot.
Oh, absolutely. And then, of course, my name is Shabazz. So thank you so much for sharing your time with us today on the Movie Podcast.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Of course. Now, we got to know, first question off the bat, you know, how did you two meet? You know, we were trying to figure out, is this a similar story to how Danny and I met?
Well, we met through Stretch Armstrong. Omar directed and produced Stretch Barbados documentary. Huh?
I produced that film.
Right. He produced a Radio That Changed Lives film, and he was just ready for the next project, and I came to mind, and he asked Stretch to introduce us. I have a working relationship with Stretch, and we got together, and yeah, we met through him, and he had this idea of a mixtape documentary, but more so centered around me. And then it just snowballed into what you guys see now, where we got the entire culture involved.
And I think too, like for us, like, you know, we love music so much, and growing up, especially in the late 90s to the early 2000s, and getting that really tail end of people coming up like 50 Cent and Lil Wayne, and even like towards the end with Drake. It's incredible to see just the lineage of everything, but like being able to see that full story just gives you such an appreciation for the music, for the culture. And Omar, for yourself, I have to ask you, what did it feel like for you going back to Tribeca and having Robert De Niro introduce your film to the world?
Oh man, that was I wasn't expecting that, you know. I think we were all proud. But I mean, extremely proud, right? But like, cause we start doing this stuff for the love, and because we know there's a story there, and you know, so we do it like that. So when things like this start taking off, you don't expect it. You know, it's a beautiful thing. But that was an epic night, man.
But you know, Tony, for you, when you're going back to those early days of cutting tape, scratching, did you ever think that there would be a documentary about what you're doing?
Oh, absolutely not. I mean, and it goes back to even the hip hop culture itself. You know, we created something out of nothing, and it turned into a global phenomenon. And I mean, that's what happens when you approach something organically. There's no set goal. There wasn't a thing, I can make money doing this. It was none of that. It was just, we were just passionate about the music. And at the end of the day, it comes out in stories like this. And, you know, and hip hop in general. I mean, we created this out of nothing. So this is just one chapter of the whole book and the hip hop culture, you know. But we definitely didn't expect it, and it was all organic, and it happened the way it was supposed to happen.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you definitely have planted a flag in hip hop's history, and at one point, everyone's going to look back at this moment and say, "Yeah, mixtapes. That's where it all kind of started to boom."
Oh yeah, had it not been for that, the world would not have heard this music, really. There's no radio, no internet. These tapes circulated all over the planet, and people it was easy to make a copy for someone, and that's how it got around.
And it's amazing seeing in the film as well. You have, you know, people like Tommy Hilfiger. You have like these big names that they see that movement, they want to be part of that movement, and they'll attach themselves to it, because there's something, especially in the world of hip hop, especially in this world of mixtapes, that you can, like, you have it or you don't type thing, right? Like, it's not something that you could just start doing. You have to have that love. You have to have that fight in you, right? And I love both of your perspectives, because the world's changed so much now with streaming. And I'm curious, you know, who are those tastemakers now? Who's pushing that culture forward and keeping those vibes alive today for you guys?
I think, you know, a lot of the artists that use this medium to continue to leak music out there and stuff. It makes it exciting, you know. It's not stuff like, for example, you mentioned Drake, you know, when he put out his mixtapes. It was an exciting moment. It was no album. It was just real underground and, you know, a little bit hard to get sometimes. And that makes it even more exciting, you know, like this is like, wow, you can't get this anywhere else but on this mixtape. So, yeah, I mean, again, I salute the recording artists now, because it went from the DJs, and then a lot of the recording artists kind of took over the movement or elevated it and made the mixtape itself just more exciting.
Omar, how about for yourself? Who are you looking at today? Because you have a lot of modern artists in the film as well, which I love getting that perspective of throughout history. But who are you looking at today that's, you know, it's keeping that culture going?
I don't know that I'm looking at anybody in particular. For me, it's the platforms are just changed, right? So like, you know, the technology changes and then you got to keep up with the technologies, right? Like back in the day, you had to go to the record stores, you know, you had to go to the mom and pop spots, you know, and that in itself was an adventure, you know. I think I told a story about being, you know, in one of the islands around Puerto Rico and walking into like a little, you know, closet looking spot and like finding, you know, a dancehall mixtape, you know, but you had that intuition of, oh, you know, I bet you I could find a mixtape in there, you know. Right. So there was that adventure. But now, you know, for me, like, you know, I just go on the platforms, you know, I just go in like the streaming platforms and that sort of thing. And every now and then I'm finding something, you know, because I'm still into the blends and stuff like that. I'm still into, oh wow, they took this song and they did this, you know, well, you know, so that stuff gets me excited. So I don't know that I'm particularly looking at one person. But I'm just searching around just like I used to do back in the day.
Got you. I respect.
That's a good point. Yeah, let's mention the platforms: Mixcloud, SoundCloud. They're the ones that created an outlet for us now to put our music out. So yeah, salute to the platforms that allowed us to keep the movement going.
So it's a little bit easier now, you know, but you know, I mean, you know, it's different.
Absolutely. I mean, you always hear people saying like, oh, I'm a SoundCloud rapper, or check my mixtape out on SoundCloud. So that really has pushed it all forward.
Right. Yes, right.
Absolutely.
Right.
Where did you even begin to kind of put together this list of artists and creatives that you're going to feature in mixtape?
That was organic, and that was between Tone and I, you know. So that was you know, those were all conversations that Tone and I would have every day. You know, that was sort of like, you know, we started with one person, you know, and we just started connecting dots, and it was like, all right, cool. So then who can we get? Who do we realistically have access to? Who do we have to move mountains to get? You know, and we just started going down that path. But nothing was gratuitous. You know, everything was for a reason. You know, and so when you see the artists that you see, they're there because they have a major contribution to the culture.
And every artist really made sense. It's like you're going from Jada Kiss to all these people, and you're like, yeah, okay, yeah, this person made the culture the way it was, and this person pushed it away. So that was really wicked to see.
Or
Tony, I got to ask, there's this movement obviously on TikTok and all social media about like, you know, what do DJs actually do? And I have to kind of ask you, what does every movie and TV show kind of get wrong about what is a DJ and making beats?
I think for a while they made it look like the DJ was in the background and the rapper was in the forefront. That's been the look for many years, you know, the DJ in the background. But he's the peacemaker. He's the one that puts it all together and connects the dots for these artists, you know. And with the general public, they just see the rapper in the front. They don't really pay attention to what's going on in the background. But there's always a full story. And shout out to producers, music producers that have contributed, not only just to DJs, but even producers that, had it not been for them, these artists wouldn't have this vibe and this sound to get their music out there. So I think that would be the thing, you know, the overlook. We've been overlooked, you know.
And mentioning overlook, I'm curious for yourself, Omar, when you're going down this rabbit hole, and obviously you're coming up in this culture well versed of what's going on around you. What surprised you when you were putting this all together? Was there anything that was just like, oh shit, like I didn't have any idea that this was something part of this world, and like I'm learning it now for the first time.
Yeah, I mean that's funny because I'm from I'm just very quickly, I'm from New York, but I moved back to Puerto Rico, whatever, right? So I got entangled with the culture in New York, but then I needed it in Puerto Rico, so I searched for it. I was hungry for it, and it was like I had to go I had to find that mixtape, and so to me, what was crazy is that when we started going to Japan and Paris and London and all these other places that you see in the film, there were other kids and other crews doing the exact same thing. So it's like that repeated itself all over. You know, there were kids just like me, just like trying to search for this music, you know, and that was the only way to get it, was through mixtapes.
It's wild, yeah, and I think that's what I love so much about the film as well, is that there is such a global presence to it, right? Obviously, like, we're looking at New York, we're looking at like Atlanta and Houston and these places, but we're also going to other places in the world, and just like you said, that music travels, right? And it's like whatever it is, it's going to find its audience, and I think that's what's so organic about the film.
You know, I remember getting a mixtape in Puerto Rico and lending it to somebody, and like, you know, seeing a car drive by, you know, like a week later playing the same tape, and the only way to get that was through me. You know, like nobody else had that. So it was like you started seeing that.
Yeah,
seeing that, right?
Just spreads everywhere, man, and you love to see that, and I love that. Like, I know you're working on now like a reggaeton documentary as well too. Anything that you could tell us about that? You know, is that going to be coming out this year, next year? I mean, I know there's going to be a lot of excitement for that too.
Oh, yeah, stay tuned for that.
Yeah,
we've said too much already.
We still like said it. No, but we're really excited to see what you do, man, because we really did love what you did with this.
Thank you.
You know, you talked about, you know, going to all these different places and getting these mixtapes. Did you find that other places were doing it differently at all?
That's what messed me up. Like, no, it was the same template. You know, it was, you know, somebody will listen to this music and you know, and that would inspire other people to, you know, to either grab a mic or you know, or produce music or whatever it is, and then the culture just slowly started spreading, and they would give it its own flip, right? They would flip it the way they, you know, that particular environment dictated, right? But it was the same thing in my from what we saw.
That's wild. Same language across the country or across the world, really.
No, before we wrap up, I just, once again, we want to thank you both so much for your time. But I would just love to know, for both of you, what are you hoping for the next, you know, 5-10 years of musicians, DJs, everybody in this world who's pushing this forward? What are you hoping to see? What are you hoping continues to, you know, stay true from, you know, those very first, you know, days back when this all started to now? Like, what are you hoping is going to keep moving forward?
I mean, for me, I'm hoping that, you know, the artists step up and elevate the art, create more music of substance. It's kind of falling into this place where everybody follows trends now, less originality. Everybody's kind of cloning what the next person is doing because they think that's hot. So, you know, I came up in an era where you had to be original, have your own sound, your own style. I'm hoping artists get back to that, and that there's just more substance being pushed forward.
I mean, the same. I want this culture to continue. This is a culture that I love. This is the music that I love. I came up with, and I wanted to continue to see it do well and flourish and be even bigger than it is now.
Omar, Tony, thank you both so much. Absolute legends we're talking to. So thank you for your time. We can't wait for everybody to also be watching Mixtape as well, because we loved it, and it's just fantastic to see hip hop culture just represented the way that it is.
Amazing. Thank you, man. Thank you. And thank you for this opportunity. Thanks.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.